And we are back. Welcome to the Soapbox, where people who work, volunteer, and care about recovery tell us who they are and what they're most passionate about. My name is Rich Jones RN, and I represent parentingyourchildinrecovery.com and secondstarts.com. That's the number 2ndstarts.com. Today, my guest is Stacy Schaffer. Stacy is a licensed professional counselor specializing in children, adolescents, and young adults, right? Okay, and she's also an author, and we're going to get to her book very shortly. But right now, I just want to introduce you to Stacy. And hey, Stacy, hello, how are you?
I thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to have you. It's my pleasure to have you, Stacy. I start out every show by asking everybody to just give us the Cliff Notes version of who they are and how they got to where they're at. Just tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, so the short version is that my childhood was pretty terrible, and so something had to come of it. So I have survived childhood like many of us do, and then decided, hey, let's help other people instead of dealing with my own stuff. So
Okay.
that turned out well. And so I went to grad school to be a therapist and thought that I would help kids who had journeys like I did. And so I've been in private practice for approaching 20 years as a child, adolescent, young adult therapist. And then most recently, I wrote a book that catalogs a lot of my learning from both my childhood and from being on the other side of the couch for 20 years.
Very good. It's going to be great to talk to you. All right, Stacy. Before we move on, I just want everybody to know that for this show, the show notes are very important. We'll have contact information for Stacy in case she says something that clicks in you and something that you hear that can help you or your family. So we'll have some contact information. We'll talk about her book, which we're going to get to in a little bit here. So, and also before I go, remind you of this, that if you are the parent or mentor or someone who cares about a young adult at risk, in trouble or in any type of treatment or rehab, parenting your child in recovery, please go to there. There's information that can help you to accelerate and multiply the results in any program that you're using. So there's information for parents and mentors in the notes, and also for practitioners. So, Stacy, let's get to what we came here for. I want to put you up on the soapbox. I want to hear what you've got to say, because your subject is very interesting, especially to me. So, okay. The first thing is, we talked about this, but enlighten me now. If there are so many adults in counseling, why do we always say that children are so resilient?
Yes, that is probably my biggest soapbox, is that, so many things happen all the time, especially, we're inundated with news. And people say those kids, they're strong though, they'll be okay. The kids are okay. And I mean, at a certain point, of course they have to be, right? What are your options? The options available to you aren't very good. And so people, in their childhoods do have to just move through their days, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily okay. And so all of my friends who are therapists for adults will tell me the things that they're talking about in their sessions are their childhoods.
Right.
So if we're saying like kids are resilient, I mean, they're survivors, sure, but what does that even mean when we say that? And I feel like that is a cop-out when we say that. Like, kids are resilient, they're fine. Because, at a certain point, some of those patterns begin to develop, and then they have a lifetime of behavior and likely needing some form of recovery. But we said when they were 7, they're resilient. It's okay. And so that is a heartbeat of mine, is to help the kids before they develop a lifetime of pattern of behavior.
Okay. Very understood. Talk to me about, and this is something that I harp on before. Sometimes we as helpers, we've got to remember to do our own work.
Yes.
Take care of ourselves. Talk to me about that, how you see that in your realm in counseling.
Yes, I think I'm really, really big on that. I wrote entire chapters on that. There's a chapter I wrote called hashtag get your own Stacy. And it's like doing your own inner work. And that title comes from a child client yelling that at their dad in my waiting room, like, get your own Stacy. It's pretty funny. It's time dad did not get his own Stacy. But anyway, I
Okay.
find that the work that I do and that I continue to do in like, revealing some of my patterns, some of like my shadow side, the work that I do directly impacts the kids. That like the more grounded I am in self, the more solid of a foundation I'm able to offer in terms of support those that come into my office. So I think old school theory used to be like back in my day, when I
Yeah.
first started, the theories were more like you need to have done your work before, and then you arrive as a
Mhm.
clinician, and now you can help people. And now we've discovered that that's actually not the case because we're all humans, and so we all have stuff. And so the more that I'm honest with myself, the deeper I can go like with a kid in offering any kind of care and support.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, let's move on. Now, this is another thing that in my conversations, you came up with me was, okay, talk to me about where you think we have misplaced our concerns. I guess as far as what we're concerned about is happening to young adults versus what's really out in our world. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a minor concern that we spend too much time on is like kids swearing. I think that there's appropriateness, of course, but like when a kid is in my office telling me that they were afraid about a lockdown drill, the last thing that I'm concerned about is their language choice. I think that we as a society, the people that aren't deeply like involved every single day with kids and teens like I am, I think that we don't realize the amount of danger that is on social media.
Mhm.
I think that there's some obvious concerns, right? Like we're like, don't talk to strangers. Like those conversations will always happen. Don't talk to strangers. Um, but I think that there's some really scary things that are happening online that our kids don't even realize, like different ways of bullying that they're just immune to, that like, kids can say things to one another that they know what is meant, but like the rest of us wouldn't know. And so I think that like the sometimes we focus on sure the amount of screen time or the amount of like language, but like the content of
Right.
what they're viewing is the real issue, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. Um, we talked about something briefly. I want to go back over. So, in your work, you are working with young people who are seeing traumatic things. I think you mentioned something that happened in your area recently. Talk to me about how you approach that. The things that you're seeing. Well, that's a big topic. So, I want it from your eye, from your view,
Yeah.
what we
No,
deal.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, the Evergreen shooting in September. This is being filmed in October. The Evergreen shooting was not too far from where my office is, and so I've seen people in the Evergreen population because it's a mountain town, so a lot of people come down from the mountain to get support. And I find myself that particular Wednesday, just feeling really mad that once again we failed our kids,
Mhm.
because kids come to me all the time and say, like I like the first day of school conversations when kids tell me like, yeah, like first day of junior high, I've discovered each class where I would hide in a lockdown drill.
Oh,
And I'm like, why are we having this? We need to be having this conversation, but why are we having this I want to hear who they like think that they might have a crush on in this class. Yeah, how do they feel like about this teacher? But that's usually the first thing. Or kids will say to me, I, like got these cool light up shoes, but I can't wear them to school because they'll give me away in a shooting. And it's really disheartening. Um, because, different ones will say to me, like, how did you hide? How did you feel during this? And I'm like, I'm really sorry to tell you that, like, this wasn't a fear that I had when I went to school. And I'm not really sure how I would have managed that. Because
Yes.
you have the regular anxiety of life, and then we're sending them to school with no assurance that they're going to be okay. Can put protocols in place,
Right.
but it is a travesty that our kids, like, then the kids going to school today, they
Mhm.
don't know anything different.
Right.
Like I've said to them, I'm really sorry that you live in a world we have to do lockdown drills, and they're like, we've always done lockdown drills. They give you a lollipop.
Okay. All right. Yeah. My question for you then is, and I think about this. I've got an opportunity to ask someone that knows in this battle against what's becoming normal versus what we see who haven't been in it, a complete devastating tragedy of mindset having to think about being hurt and it's
Sure.
becoming normal. In your estimation, where are we at with that as far as how we're handling the children and how they're doing? How are we doing as a profession and as groups? How are we? Are we holding up? Are we falling behind? Are we getting ahead of it? How are you feeling about that?
Like kids and mental health in general.
Mental health in general, but specifically about getting used to the thought of an attack. You know,
uh,
more like I imagine back before my time, the kids would talk about having to be in bomb shelters a little bit before my time, and I was like, "Oh, I can't even imagine that." Now I can't
mhm.
imagine what these young people are going through now, having to normalize, you know, live protection drills. Where are they at
Sure.
with that? Yeah.
Well, yes, I know. I think we're doing terrible. But in some cases, but the best they can with what they have. The closest high school to me, kids have reported to me, like especially after Evergreen, um, kids have reported to me that they feel safe at that particular school because of the amount of security, the amount of checks. And like what part of the problem at Evergreen was, like, the security officer went home at 10:30 and it was at lunchtime. And I don't know, don't get me started, but I like the fact that my clients that go to the AWS school are like, well, like, nothing is foolproof, but at least we have these things in place, and it does make me feel safer. um I part of There's a lot of parts of the problem, but one is that the kids who are the like oftentimes the school shooter, like there's been quite the profile.
Hmm?
Those kids are the age where they did lockdown drills when they were kids, so they know where the kids are hiding.
Okay.
And so it's like I think that it's absolutely insane, what we are asking of our kids, and then we're curious why they're anxious. That's probably the population that I see the most of, are anxious kids. And I had one that was like, I'm not really sure why I'm anxious. I'm like, what do you mean? like you just had a like copycat threat at your school.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, but like lockdown drills happen. And it's so common to them that, like, they're not even realizing, like, that's it's really not typical to have to go to school like that. Like, I some, like, girls who aren't really sure how to, like, need to take care of, like, some female needs, because if they're in the bathroom when something happens, they get locked out of their classroom.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And
That's
so they're Yeah. And
yes.
so that, like, it's just like it goes on and on, like stories like that, and it's horrifying. It's
Mhm.
absolutely horrifying that we are not doing a better job protecting our kids to go to school.
Okay. In your opinion, are there enough people that do what you do? And are school systems and groups as willing to bring you on as we like to think they are? We automatically think in our mind, or as soon as something happens, they go out there and get themselves a professional. Is everybody cooperating in this effort? You know, and are there enough of you to go around?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that the schools there doing the very best they can.
Mhm.
I think just in general, when it's not lockdown drill, when we're not responding to a tragedy, I don't think that there's enough support. I mean, there's these massive schools, and there's only so many school counselors that have like a certain combination of letters, and really the kids that are like on absolute fire, those kids get attention, right?
Right.
But the kids that like stuff is like simmering below the surface, like don't always. And I think it's hard for kids to go talk to school counselors too because of the like it feels not as confidential and everyone knows that you're walking into the school counselor's office. So I think that's hard. I mean, they do like Evergreen did a lot of like post like incident support, like anyone who needs to. But the
Right.
problem, like, is that these issues are long term. There's a forever after. Like I like saw a kid who was, impacted by the shooting. And of course we talked about it. Of course we, like had a session about it. 6 months later, when some sound happens, like something similar, they're still impacted by that, but everybody's moved on,
Right.
and that's just part of the reality of going to school in America. And it's just, I would say that I wish that we cared as much about our kids as we say we do.
Mm. I just want to piggyback off of what you said. And the reason why I'm so happy to have you on and even broach this subject upon the other things that we're talking about is because I feel like this is one of the reasons why we're allowed to have so many political conversations about this, is because we're not hearing or seeing the actual impact that it's having. And it's where we have the ability to not process that, while we process the political things are easy to process, but it's harder to process what the children are actually feeling and saying. And even worse than that to me is the fact that they have an opportunity to become apathetic about it. They even have an opportunity to become apathetic about it. And I think that's something that the rest of us who aren't the children need to hear people like you speaking more about this so we can get our perspective back somehow a little bit here.
Right. Yeah. Like I was reading like the Minnesota one that happened in the Catholic school. I was reading the other day that one of the little girls that was protecting another little girl like finally went back to school, and everyone's like, yay. And I'm like, this girl's gonna have a lifetime of challenges. Like I'm really arguably it's better than like not making it through a school shooting. I'm like, but I would just hate to think that people are like, oh, she's back, like yay, like see, like kids are resilient, and I'm like this girl, like, and I believe that it's really likely she has like great support. I'm not saying that, but I think she's in for a lifetime that it's always going to impact her, and for going to school,
Right.
like it's baffling to me. It is baffling to me that Sandy Hook wasn't enough.
Yes. Yes. It's something that we deal with. All right, I just want to remind everybody again, show notes, we're going to talk about your ability to get in touch with Stacy and see if some of her insight her book, maybe even drop her a line about her book after you get it and read it. If you have children of this age, or even myself, I don't have a child of this age, but I find these topic fascinating because that mindset is our future. Those people, these young people that are coming up with this mindset, that's our future. So, we should guard against what's going on with them. Also, remember, if you're a parent or a mentor or a practitioner who cares or works with young adults at risk, in trouble, or in a current treatment situation, uh, parentingyourchildinrecovery.com is a non-clinical option that accelerates and multiplies the results you're getting for a better opportunity at long-term recovery. Okay, and there's links in there for the support people, family and mentors, and there's links for practitioners who want to join in. Okay, Stacy, I want to talk about your project and your book right now. I want you to tell me about your book and discuss with me the origins of it, how you thought about it, where it's going, and has it gone anywhere, taking you somewhere different than you didn't even know it was going to take you?
Yes. So I'd love to talk about it. So my book is called With Love from a Children's Therapist, hashtag Lessons I've Learned Along the Way. And it came out in April. I got to do my own audiobook, which came out in May. I'm recovering from not feeling well, so you'll actually hear what my voice sounds like if you get the audio.
Okay.
It'll actually sound a little bit more cartoony. It's not really how I sound. But my book, it was really important to me that it was titled With Love, because I think a lot of times people approach a kid's therapist or a kid's expert with some shame, that they're like, I'm doing this thing wrong. And I think parenting is the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
And I also think that it's so brave to ask for support or to need support. So starting there, that's why it's With Love. But it's a combination of, my thoughts from being on the other side, of the couch from kids for, approaching 20 years. And insights of today's generation, and then also areas of opportunity from my own childhood that I'm here's what would have been helpful, and kind of combined together in one book, to be I've been saying it's part memoir, it's part inner child healing guide, part parenting resource.
Okay, all right. Is this the kind of book that you would recommend? At least I will anyway, but recommend anybody who has children in any stage of life, go ahead and get,
Yeah, I think so. I have several friends who don't plan to have kids at all, and they told me that was really helpful to me. And so, I think it could. I've been saying it's for anyone who loves someone who was 11 or who was ever 11.
Okay.
So my hope is that people feel really seen and heard in the pages, that there's something to connect with. Because we all had to survive childhood somehow, and so I think that my hope is that people are I'm gonna take that and maybe talk about that with my therapist. My most favorite teacher in all of high school, she read my book, she got it the week it came out.
Okay.
And she left a review on Amazon and said that she wished she would have had that as a guide to help me. Yeah, which was it was a really interesting thought, that adult me wrote this, and that's something she's had I known these things, I could have support. But she was amazing and wonderful. But I constantly think about that I was had, with some weird time warp thing, had that been a change, would things have been different? And I think they would have been.
Very, very, very nice. We'll make sure that we get everybody to give everybody an opportunity to find that book, read it, and get the information from it. I want to go on some personal stuff on the end, because in sometime I talk to people when I'm going to have the shows, and I'm interested. What turned you into such an athlete? How did you? what sparked that? Or something you've always been like? I mean, we talked about surfing, kickboxing. Tell me about some things that you're doing. I'm curious.
Yeah. That's really funny. Kickboxing is my jam.
Okay.
I always say that I punch bags so I don't punch people.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm going tonight. It is one of my favorite forms of self-care. And because I think, I always tell kids like life is hard, like when kids ask me, they're like, do you get angry? I'm like, yeah, because I'm a human. Like we all get angry. I don't break things because I don't want to get in trouble. So let's like find ways for you to express that without getting in trouble. And I feel like it's really an empowering sport for me,
Okay.
because I don't get sick of it. It's really fantastic. I love my studio. It feels like a safe place where I can just feel recharged. Like I wrote about it in my book, my kickboxing studio, that if everybody had a place to go, like a child had a place where they felt as like loved and supported, like things would shift.
Okay.
So yeah, I love the kickboxing community.
That's exciting to hear that you're into that. And last but not least, I wanted to give and I said I was going to do this. I want to give Willow a shout out again.
Do we want to bring her on?
Yeah,
Willow.
this is a doghouse also. So
So Willow is my therapy dog in training.
oh,
And she's she's actually the mascot at kickboxing.
okay.
And we had emo night the other night, and so she wore an emo wig. But the week of the shooting, this last shooting, her fur was really wet because kids were crying into her fur. And so she's like, it's true, it's true.
Okay.
And so I think that like sometimes like words like don't always like help us, but dogs always do.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. So thank you so much. Remind everybody, we'll make sure we check those show notes out, give you an opportunity to get in touch with Stacy, get an opportunity to find her book. I'll definitely have a link to where you can get the book in there. Also, remember, in closing, if you are the mentor, the parent, or a practitioner who cares or works with young adults at risk, in trouble, or in some current treatment, parentingyourchildinrecovery.com. It's a non-clinical option that helps accelerate and multiply the results that you're getting now. A link for parents and mentors and a link for practitioners in the show. Stacy, thank you for coming on Soapbox. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I think this is what's needed more often. I think we need to hear actually more often your side of the story and what you're seeing, because we are impersonalizing what's happening to our children. That's not totally a non-political statement, but we are impersonalizing and we're not feeling it from their vantage point. And we're also not understanding that it's not as scary for them anymore. And that's really scary. That's really scary that it's not as scary for them anymore.
Right,
So
right.
that's the thing too. So again, I want to thank you again for coming on. For myself, the Soapbox, and Stacy, I want to remind everybody to go out there and help somebody get better, help somebody stay better, and most importantly, let's help somebody be better. So, and thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.